Hi everybody, it's me, Cindy, and yes, I'm back here in my kitchen where I like to spend a lot of time. Today I am going to bake some apple bread. I have a recipe that I've had for a very long time, but I don't know where it came from. I would give credit to it, the originator, if I could, but unfortunately I can't. But trust me, I did not create this recipe, but I do like it and I do use it. So, apple bread. First thing to note is this makes 2 loaves. Okay, so we're looking at 1 cup of vegetable oil, 3 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla or more, you know me, 3 cups of diced apples, 3 cups of all purpose flour, and then a teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of salt, and then if you want, you can add a cup of chopped nuts. Nuts of your choice, walnut, pecans, those are usually the best. And as always, this recipe will be in the first comment underneath the video. Now, it makes 2 loaves, but I am not going to make 2 loaves today. I've cut the recipe in half. I've got my ingredients all laid out for half as much as I need, and that's where I'm going with this. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put the it's not olive oil, it's vegetable oil, sugar, the egg, and the vanilla in a bowl. Now, if it's calling for 3 eggs, how in the world are we going to do 1.5 eggs? Well, there's solutions to that. My solution is I have chickens, so I use a large egg and a small egg. You can see the difference, I hope. But let's say you don't have chickens who are giving you some different size eggs. So what you do is you take one of your eggs, crack it into a container, mix it up, look at the volume, and this one is 10 teaspoons. So you pour 5 teaspoons into the bowl. That way you got a half an egg, and you save the last half for throwing in with your scrambled eggs or doing almost anything with. But since I have a large egg and a small egg, I'm just going to dump all of this in because this is my large egg. And then I'm going to add my small egg. And yes, I will first put it into this because I always like to look at the eggs and make sure there's no nasty, gunky stuff mixed in. And then there's not. So now I have my 1.5 eggs, and that's a trick that you can use for so many things. All right, let's see, the vanilla and the vegetable oil, half a cup because I'm making only 1 loaf. And you know how I am with vanilla. No matter what it calls for, I'm going to give it a little splash more. This one was made for beans from Comoros. I'm not sure if Comoros is an island or a country in Africa, or somewhere. But anyway, it smells pretty darn good to me. It's aged for a little over a year, and that's how long you have to age vanilla extract before you can use it. At least a year. All right. So those are all my wet ingredients. And I'm not using my stand mixer. I'm just using a mixing bowl and my hand mixer. And I'm going to give them a quick mix together. All right, the next instruction says to take the dry ingredients and put them together. So I have a 1.5 cups of flour. I have a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, baking soda, and salt, because remember, 1 loaf. So I'm throwing them in with the flour. And then we're slowly going to mix this in with the wet ingredients. It's cinnamon always is such a beautiful color and a beautiful smell. This time I'm using a nice little jar of Ceylon cinnamon, of course from Pensy Spices, because I love Pensy Spices. I have cinnamon from all over. I've got some, I think from Vietnam. I'm not sure. I have at least 3 different kinds, if not 4 different kinds. And it's just luck of the draw because, in my experience, they're all wonderful. All right, let's finish getting this flour and the other dry things mixed in. And that's looking good. This is a very simple recipe. It comes together quickly. No muss, no fuss. Well, maybe a little muss, but not a lot of fuss. Okay. Now I'm going to want to add the apples. Now, it originally said 3 cups of apples, and I usually figure 1 cup of apples is 1 apple. So I did an apple and a half, and I cut them up a little while ago. And you know how apples turn brown so quickly that I sprinkled on a little bit of this Fruit Fresh protector. It's made by Ball, and I like it. I use it when I am cutting up, especially apples or bananas, because it really does make a difference. Prevents browning, so I recommend it. So as you can see, my apples did not turn brown. They're still a beautiful color. And now we're going to mix them in. And in the instructions, it says nuts are optional, but I do have about a little less than half a cup of chopped walnuts. So I'm going to mix them in too. Why not? And I'm certainly not going to do that with my mixer because it's too thick and it would get all hung up. So I'm actually going to use my bowl scraper to mix up the rest of these ingredients. And you just want to get the apples all covered nicely. With the batter. All right, that's looking good. Now we're going to take a 9x5 baking dish. Mine is old and beat up, but it works good. And I'm going to spray it with the quick release. And, you know, if you wanted to grease it and flour it, if you wanted to put down parchment paper, you could do all those things. But I like to just spray it with a quick release, which works really well. I'll give it a good spray all around the sides. And now it's going to get scraped into the bowl, from the bowl to the pan. And then in no time at all, from start to finish, provided you got all your ingredients out ahead of time and did your mise en place, you'll be able to put it in the oven. So that's what I'm going to do. Kind of flatten it out in the baking pan. Now it goes in a 300-degree oven. I know that's low. And it goes for 80 minutes. I know that's a long time, but it works. So hopefully you plan this out appropriately. You have enough time and you are patient enough to wait for it to finish. So I'm going to pause the video here and get it baking, and then we'll see what it looks like.